Clearly, Season 5, Episode 7 trailer looks like we're about to enter the bloodiest part of the entire season. And after what happened at the end of Episode 6, I don't think we're watching Homelander spiral anymore. I think we're going to see Homelander finally become the thing he always believed he was. Now, everyone watching this already knows what happened to him at the end of Episode 6. Homelander basically activated Super Saiyan mode. He got his power upgrade, and the scariest part is what that upgrade is going to do to his ego. So now you can just imagine Homelander with more power, more confidence, and absolutely no reason to hold back. It also looks like he's going to be testing his luck and see how much he can truly get away with. Well, at this point, I don't really think you can call it pushing his luck, because I don't think he's going to care what anyone thinks of him. I think he's just going to take everything just because he can. And we kind of see that energy in the trailer with this scene right here in the White House. Homelander is literally sitting there in the Oval Office, grinning from ear to ear with his feet kicked up like he owns the place. And we know the president already does whatever Homelander says. We've seen Homelander give him commands throughout Season 5, and it's very clear who is actually in control. But this scene does not feel like Homelander is just visiting the president or checking in on his little puppet. This feels like Homelander has finally decided that he does not need a puppet anymore. I could genuinely see him announcing to the world that there is no more traditional leadership, and the only person you need to answer to is just Homelander. And they kind of already hinted to this, because the fact that they have Homelander camps is kind of crazy to say the least. But of course, not everyone in the universe is going to accept that. There will be people saying that he is not their leader, and he is definitely not their god. And after he hears that, that is probably when he goes on his killing spree of innocent people just because they don't believe that he's God. Now, what makes this episode even more interesting is the title, The Frenchman, the Female, and the Man Called Mother's Milk. And when you hear a title like that, you know this episode is going to heavily focus on them. With Frenchie and Kimiko, I think this episode has to finally address what has been going on between them, because the relationship has been kind of hanging in the air this entire season. They gave us that moment where Kimiko basically said that they were not compatible, and I get what the show is trying to do, but it felt like we never really got enough time to sit with it. It kind of just happened, then the season just kept moving on. And because of that, it feels like Episode 7 is going to be the episode that finally forces them to deal with it. And then we have Mother's Milk, and I actually think his storyline might be even darker than people expect, because in Episode 6, when the legend told MM that he was starting to become more like Butcher, that moment really stood out to me. And you could tell MM did not like that one bit when he referred to him as Butcher. But deep down, he probably knew there was some truth to it. And that is scary, because MM has always been the moral center of the group. He's the guy who wants justice, not just revenge like Butcher. So I would be surprised if Episode 7 shows MM doing something completely out of his comfort zone. Maybe he decides that being careful does not matter anymore because Homelander has already taken everything too far. That would be a really interesting direction for him, because it would show how much this war has changed him. MM started as the guy trying to stop Butcher from going too far, but now he might be the one standing at the edge. We also have this intense brawl between Dognot, She-Line, and the boys, and this scene looks brutal. Bodies are dropping everywhere, and from the way the trailer cuts it together, it definitely looks like somebody is dying here. Now, this also does not look like one of those quick little fights in the show where everyone gets a punch in and then runs away. I feel like this is going to be a full-on brawl resulting in somebody big dying. Now, if I had to guess who dies in this scene, I think it will probably be these Soups, because let's be real, there is no way any actual member of the Seven gets dog-walked by Dognot right before the finale. But seriously, I just do not see them building up the final episode only for one of the main characters to get taken out by these two. It just doesn't really make any sense, especially when Starlight looks like she is there too, which means the boys are not fighting alone, and they got an OP Soup on their side ready to take them out. And then we have Marie showing up in this episode too, which is very interesting. From the trailer, it looks like she is mostly going to be helping out with Annie, but I really hope they do not just use her as a side character, because Marie is way too powerful and way too important to just have her standing around in the background. She was one of the main characters from Gen V, and her powers have been hyped up for a reason. So if she is in the final season of The Boys, she needs to matter. And I really hope we get at least one fight scene from her in Episode 7. And if we don't, then she has to be involved in Episode 8 somehow. Now, another thing I really want to point out is this short right here with Carl Urban.
There's major characters that don't even make it to the end credits of 7, let alone before even we get into 8.
Now, it's not in the trailer, of course, but the short just came out yesterday, and the actor who plays Butcher in the clip basically says that major characters are going to die. And yes, this could be a red herring and nobody actually dies, but the thing is, Eric Kripke already said before the season started that there would be a lot of death. So when Carl Urban says major characters, keyword characters, not character, that tells me that we might be looking at more than one big death in episode 7. And that is insane to think about because we are only one episode away from the finale. Usually shows save the biggest deaths for the final episode, but the boys might be doing something different. One character that I really think could die is Sister Sage. Now, Sage is smart, obviously, but physically she is not the type of soup who could just throw hands with Homelander and survive. Then there is the Deep, and this one is kind of tricky because part of me thinks he should die, but the other part of me thinks he will somehow survive. But the trailer kind of hints that it might not be that simple because we also get this weird shot of the Deep, and from the looks of it, is he drowning? Which is already ironic because this man is literally the Deep. So if he is somehow dying in the water, that would be one of the most embarrassing deaths in the entire show. But the way the trailer also frames it, it feels like he is completely broken after what happened in the last episode when Black Noir killed all of that sea life. Now, the one thing the Deep actually cares about is sea life. So after seeing all of those fish die, especially after he told them the pipeline was safe, I could see him completely spiraling. Maybe he feels completely responsible, or maybe he realizes that everything he does for Homelander just ends up hurting the only things he actually cares about. But at the same time, I don't fully buy that. I just do not see the Deep taking his own life, especially this close to the finale. That does not really feel like the kind of ending they would just give him. The Deep is just too cowardly and honestly too ridiculous of a character enough to go out like that. Also, another thing is that the sea life might actually turned on him, because remember, he told them that the pipeline was safe, and he kind of lied to them whether he wanted to admit it or not, and how a lot of them are dead because of it. So what if the ocean itself basically rejects him? I don't know. Honestly, we'll have to find out. The Deep is one of those characters who always manages to stay alive because he is just so pathetic and stupid. The problem is, I don't know if Homelander would actually do that right now, because at this point, the Deep might actually be the only loyal soup Homelander has left, and that might be enough to keep him alive. But overall, episode 7 looks like it's setting up absolute chaos, and Homelander is going to do some unimaginable things. But I don't know if it's just me, but I am actually rooting for the Deep not to die. And I hope he does not take his life. And I hope maybe he figures it out with Homelander. But dude, at this point, the trailer kind of looks like he will take his own life. So I don't know. I'm actually kind of scared for the Deep.